Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Episode 3 of Off the Top of My Head podcast here. It's me, Jordan, your host, as ever. And with us on the reg, we have Luke. How's it going, man?
Evening all, morning, however, what time you're in, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm well.
Oh, good stuff. Young, how we doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just trotting on. Get my vaccine on Friday.
You're getting your Friday? Oh, I was going to say, straight to life then.
Yeah, they were like, right.
Have you jumped the queue?
Get vaccinated. Where's your spleen? All right, get in the queue.
Oh, fair. But I was going to say, how's everyone's week been? So, Young, start us off then. Yours sounds good. Hello? Oh.
Good week. Solid. Yeah, no.
Good week.
To be fair, I feel the same. Lockdown doing nothing.
Oh, decent quality. How's it going, Luke? You start us off then. What have you been up
to? Sweet fuck all. It's probably the long and short of it. No, just been. I finally finished KOTOR, so I ended up getting KOTOR 2 on my mobile phone. So that was only in the last day or so. So that's relatively recent. Playing around with cryptocurrencies, as you may well be aware, keeping an eye on this whole GameStop thing, just generally, fumbling my way through life. So yeah, it's been
Has anything changed then?
Roller coaster of a week.
Love it. Oh God. Young, anything you've got to say for this week? Anything interesting happening in your life?
Well, my laptop keeps freezing, so that's why I constantly look like I'm unsure what's going on. I did get GameStop shares, and I made some money on them. That was nice. Now, today, the 4 remaining ones I have just dropped off the face. Well, it's still technically more than I bought them for, but it's not looking nice.
Oh God, I was going to say, it was one of those things where everyone's probably heard of this by now. Obviously, GameStop shares going up, trying to beat all the hedge funds and stuff. But if you didn't know about it a week before you knew about it, then there was no point actually getting into it in the first place, really. So it's kind of like, if you hear it from someone else, like on the news or somewhere online somewhere, like you're already behind. So I kind of feel with a lot of these things, people are hearing it maybe even just last week and still being like, oh yeah, I'll get on the trend, I'll make loads of cash, put my life savings in, and you got some bad news for you because you're just too behind already. You need to stay ahead of the game. So it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. Oh, good. Yeah.
So Young, have you cashed out then? You say you've got a few left and they're just not.
No, don't worry. I'm not a turncoat. I'm still holding some of the shares, but I'm also not an idiot who will be like, I'm willing to lose all my money for Reddit. Yeah. So I was like, right, I'll take my money out, take a little bit of profit, but I'm not going to completely abandon the cause. And also, I'm saying this like I'm one of the comrades or something. The reality is, I just thought if these blow now after I've cashed out even more, I am gonna be fuming. I'd rather lose that money with the chance that it could blow up than keep it now.
Oh goodness, but now fair play. I mean, you've always got to look after yourself. Number one, it is good thinking a big group together, against all the hedge funders, and they're getting upset that they're losing money when they've kind of made with everyone else for years. So, but at the end of the day, if you're going to make a profit and still have shares in it, it just seems a win-win scenario, doesn't it, for you? So you'd be silly not to. So good on you, friend. Good on you. Myself this week, I can say not much just happened apart from I say not much happened. My birthday on Friday. Happy birthday to me.
He's a big boy.
I know, another year close to 30. It's getting scary, isn't it? Goodness me. Pretty much, I know. I pretty much am.
Speaking of grey hairs already, mate.
You're saying that? I have very few grey hairs. Even the beard's not showing at all. It's brown through and through.
Just the receding hairline, yeah.
I was going to say the more comb over is showing.
Oh God! Yeah, that's just the
Come on, let's have a look.
That's the style.
That's the pre-lockdown cut. If you get to a point now, I'll be eating my own hair, so it has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, it has to cover the bald spot on the left as well. But we'll leave that for another day.
Well, next week's analysis can be reviewing haircuts and foreheads and just seeing how far we've gone.
Oh, how interesting. If only we wanted to listen to that. Right. So we'll start off with the main topic and then we'll go on through. So main topic this week, we've talked about Star Wars as a franchise. We've talked about League of Legends as an individual game. This week, we're looking at a genre of game. And it's definitely one of, I'd say, it's not something I ever jump on every day, but when I'm in the mood to play it, you can sink minimum like it's 8 hours sometimes in a good session places of games, and that is strategy games. Now, first of all, let's have a talk about our own personal experiences. Strategy game, when I mention it, what comes to mind and what was the game? Young, strategy game, off the top of your head, what comes to mind?
The first one, when someone says strategy games, I always think of probably Age of Empires, but that's not like the one I've played the most personally. But it's just, I think, especially if you're like our age, like we're all like pretty much 28, and we're, you know, it is what it is. We're getting older, but you know, our youths, that was like the game. I remember like Age of Empires 2, 3. You know, when we were young and you're on PC, it was like that was the bit. It was so good. I remember like Age of Mythology, all of those Age of Empire games.
We'll get into this.
Yeah. I don't not to. Yeah, we don't have to get into them now, but just they're the first ones I think of. But it's not. Yeah, it's not even necessarily. I guess the strategy games I've played the most, but they're the ones that when I was like a teenager, it's like, oh gosh, a bit of Age of Empires.
Nothing better. Yeah. Definitely. Luke, yourself, he's on the same kind of line or somewhere different?
If it was, first one in my head, although Age of Empires is a classic, for me it's the Total War franchise. Those guys just, I don't even want to admit or look into or think of how many hours I've put into them games, but yeah, easy 8-hour sessions day after day, you know, summer holidays, or, you know, if you're ill as a kid.
You know, those real sunny days outside. Those great summer holidays when there's a sun, stand inside with a window shut.
Curtains don't show me if there's sun outside or not, so it's fine. When they're closed, it's all good.
Oh, goodness. Oh, God.
No time, no curtains.
I'd have to just probably give it Young, to be honest. I think Age of Mythology is a real one that caught me, especially like I think that's probably, even though I say that I like ancient like history and such, I think that's probably the reason that probably got me into it the most, I'd say. Or like mytholocal creatures and stuff like that. That kind of like worked out good. I can't even say it twice. I know. We'll pass on that. There we go. It's like just I think Age of Empires was probably like where it was started for. Like that this is a great game, and then realizing that I don't just have to build like humans with swords and bows and catapults. It was like I can actually have like a Minotaur or like a Cerberus just like as well. Just got even better and better and just more into the game. So yeah, I think that's where I started from for sure. So this genre, why is it appealing compared to maybe an FPS or an MMORPG? What makes it stand out? What are the main fundamentals of a strategy game, you'd say? Luke, we'll start with you this one.
I think strategy, I guess there's a bit more ownership over it, maybe because you're, depending on what sort of strategy game you're playing, if it's something where you've got to build it up from the ground and then you can sort of reap the rewards of what you've built. So like the Age of Empires, if you resource orientated, then at the end of the game you just fucking swamp it with units because you've got the economy. So you could be very financially focused, you could be very sort of money fighting focused. There's different ways to win, and I know in some of the strategy games they obviously have that as an option. You know, how do you win the game? But for me, it's a sense of ownership and just sort of going about your business as you see fit, sort of sitting back and just letting it unfold. It's not so fast paced, but over time you can be quite proud of what you've created in a weird way, I guess.
I like that. Young, yeah. What draws you to the genre, Young? What do you like about it the most?
I don't even really know if I'm on it. It's one of it's weird. I think probably is what Luke said. Just there's a lot of different ways to play a strategy. Obviously there's a lot of different ways to play. Say a first person shooter or something. But the reality is, if you haven't got quick eye-hand coordination and reflexes, you're probably going to suck. Even if you're like, I've got the perfect strategy, lads. We're going to drop it. Warzone, we'll drop it. Blah blah. If the second you meet someone, you're like, and you just get one shot. It's like, well, I don't know. Whereas in strategy games, it is, okay, maybe you're like, say you're playing like Total War, you play a Total War game. Maybe you're not the best at actually commanding, moving your troops a certain way or doing this or that, but you're really great at planning out the strategy of, okay, this section's going to take care of this aspect of my empire, this situation can take care of this is going to be the military zone, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. I think it just kind of all depends, and obviously just strategy games themselves, for one, I know there's differences in FPSs, but I feel like strategy has so much diversity in it. You take something I haven't played it in a while, but a game like Frostpunk, which is survival strategy, and technically in the same genre you've got something like Total War, which is literally it's grand strategy really, isn't it? Total War, which is empire building and stuff, or Solaris, which is sci-fi strategy. You know, I just think it's one of those genres where you can kind of do so many different things in it while still being a strategy game, which I really enjoyed personally.
Yeah, true. I never thought of it like that. Sometimes when you hear FPS, like it is just first person shooter, like every FPS is going to have like a gun, or you're going to be like killing another person. Like what you mentioned with those strategy, you can win through like diplomacy, you could win through just keeping your base alive, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's loads of different ways they take it, which is good. This is why it's appealing to so many people, because there's so many different ways you can win and play. So, let's try and think about. I'm trying to think of some questions the last one we've done to try and keep the same questions throughout different genres. What about like the learning curve for like strategy games? Is there any games you've played where you think like some of the strategy kind of games where it's more just like base build and fight are kind of easier, and then you work your way up as like maybe to a Total War series when there's more like taxes and like governments and such, and then you work your way even more to maybe like Civ Rev, where I haven't played, but I know it gets into a lot of detail and there's like even many more ways to try and win and such. We've got a message in the chat, Phil Platt 92, Chapmano 102. What are we saying about Championship Manager guys here? Would you say that would be put towards a strategy game? I would kind of say. I think
it's a simulation game. That's just pure simulation.
Do you know what?
Than like FIFA, which is kind of simulation.
I kind of feel like there's aspects of it that could be a strategy game, like the strategy in a way, knowing that like maybe some of you players, you want to play a certain formation, so you're going to strategically go and find a specific player, and you're looking for certain attributes towards it. But I do see what you mean in terms of like you have zero input in the actual outcome of like games and such. Like you can spend hours strategizing like this is the best formation to play against this team. I've analysed all of their cup games this whole season, and they always play a 3 at the back, so we're going to overload with 3 up front, and then you could just lose 5-0 and be like, well, that was pointless. So I do see the difference in that, but yeah, I'd put more towards as a sim game as well. Luke, do you think the same? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with your points there. Simulation. Not much more to add to that, unfortunately. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. So, where's the kind of learning curve for our strategy games? And is there any we recommend for like just start up here and then work your way up, or do all of the games in strategy kind of offer that kind of like base start and then like gets harder and harder?
Depends, isn't it?
I think it depends on the type of strategy game, because some strategy games are turn based, whereas others are live. So if you take something like Command and Conquer, it's not turn based. It's simply, get your MCV and then just fucking build as fast as you can. Go and smash the ore or Tiberium or whatever it is, and just get your resources in so you can go on the offense. Whereas other games like I'll go towards sort of Total War. It's turn based, so you're well aware that you can see on the map someone's quite far away, so you've got time to learn. You've got time to think about what you're going to do. If it's something more like Command and Conquer, where it's live action, the learning curve has to be a lot steeper, because otherwise you're just going to fall flat on your face. Yeah. So I think something like Total War, it takes a lot longer to master.
Yeah, it's a different way as well. Like, even though you mentioned that Total War is definitely hard to master, so you'd probably maybe consider it a harder game. If you maybe looked at like the professional scene, like StarCraft's a really big strategy game. So, for example, that would be something they'd play on like a competitive level. Like, you wouldn't remain. Well, I don't know if they are, but it's not as popular. I'd assume that like Total War, like competitiveness compared to like StarCraft is like a lot less. And maybe because it's more real time, it's actually maybe it is more about like reaction speed. Even though we mentioned that's not a crucial thing to play in this game. Sometimes looking at the mini map, looking at your base, and then kind of like building against what they're kind of do. So yeah, I see what you mean by the learning curve there. Young, anything else to add?
I mean, StarCraft is like 100. Well, it's not 100% reaction based, but there's it's all about like your macros and knowing what you've got to do, where you've got to move. I mean, if you ever watch, it's weird. It's not even fun to watch. I don't think. While you watch StarCraft players, and it just like it boggles my mind. The screen's like going flying all around. All the different macros, like every second they change the commands and stuff. It's like, right, I'm not interested in that. That's too much for me. Yeah. But it's like you guys said, the learning curve. Turn-based games. It also obviously depends on just like the tutorials and stuff in the game. For something like, you brought up StarCraft, anything that's got like an esports scene to it is going to have like 2 different levels, I feel like, of learning the game. Because like I've played StarCraft 2, I can't remember if I did the last expansion, but I played through the first 2 expansions just to like the story. And I mean, it's easy, it's, well, not easy, it's a campaign strategy game. And it's like, the first few levels, like, you do this, then this does this, da da da. But, if you went into online having done that, you just get absolutely rolled every single game. So I think it kind of just depends as well, when there is an online competitive scene, it's almost like another level. It's almost, it's like most games that have got, I think, an esports side, especially strategy. There's two different levels of, okay, well, this is, if you want to just have a fun strategy to play the single player game, try this. Oh, you can do this. You almost got more freedom in single player because, you're only against the computer. So if you don't beat them really fast, so it's not the end of the world. Or if you don't, well, they're not, the computer's going to build itself up. I've got time to try this. And like Luke said, they're all the way over there. I've got plenty of time to, maybe I'll work this out. Maybe I'll try this out. Whereas in online strategy games, a lot of online strategy games, at least in my opinion, seem to come down to like zerging each other. Like, what's the quickest way to get the most power and completely wipe out something of my phone?
Yeah, so there's no kind of like end game. It's something like the game. I think when I used to play like Lots of Buff on Xbox, like, and you tried to go in the online lobbies, it was pure. If you're in duos, you'd always come against like a dwarf because they always got like high HP and they just wouldn't die in the early game, and they just build. I think it was like Gloin and King Dane, and they just spend all their gold on that. They wouldn't build any resource building buildings. They'd build the two of them, and they'd just send them to your castle, and you'd just die. And it was just like ridiculous.
I feel like you're trying to bait Phil to
good though. Two dwarves can take on a whole fucking army.
Yeah, I literally just mentioned that.
Did you ever heard the time that me and Hasbrook that over 3 and 4 players?
No, it was I know this story. I know Phil's actually just put in chat Lodger Buffman now. I think they played first and fourth in the world, and they both rushed first in the world. They beat him, and they were like, well, it's us against one guy, we'll smash him. And he beat both of them single-handedly. I remember him telling me. Walking to school one day, he was like, oh, we did this, and then they lost. I mean,
good time. So it doesn't really count.
Yeah. And then, well, let's go to different games in terms of how strategy games have kind of opened up from other genres, for example. So if we think of things like Halo, which is like the first like FPS when Xbox was released, that was huge. They went into Halo Wars. We've got things, I'm trying to think of some other games that have done the similar things. Like you've got the miniature figures, Warhammer, Total War snatched that up and made a huge Total Warhammer 1, Total Warhammer 2. Oh, sorry, Phil, it was first and third in the world, not first and fourth. Apologies. So like a lot of these companies can really see strategy games as being a really good way just to not kind of like, I wouldn't say wasting, but using their resources of building a big universe of like a campaign and how many years Games Workshop have been in, and just thinking, like, oh, if we just transfer all of this resource into one big strategy game, it's just, we haven't done a lot of work, but we know it's a genre that everyone likes. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that Total War did Warhammer because it kind of just, like you say, it shows that you can take like Total War as kind of a game base, which is pretty cool, and just change things around. Total War, for instance, Warhammer's got magic in it and stuff like that, which obviously isn't in the normal Total War game.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been Jesus. Well, you know this because you played with me, but I mean, I think I took something like nearly 300 hours into the first Total War Warhammer, and I think I'm on like, and I didn't play the second as much. It was still a really good game. I actually really enjoyed it, but I think I only took like 100, only like 5 days into the second one.
Barely touched it.
Yeah, I know.
There'll be some days when me and you'll be like, should we just start a campaign? Like, yeah, sure. 6 hours in is insane.
Know, yeah.
And like,
why have I showered yet today?
no, tomorrow's job.
One more turn, just one more turn.
Oh, the one more turn on those when it's like turn based. Oh my goodness! You're like, I just need to get this building built, and then I'll be fine. And that happens. You're like, well, if I just get this last, it's endless. It's just
and like something else. You go, well, maybe I'll just sort my troops out so I can make sure I've got the right kind of compositions in each one. And then before you know it, I've just spent an hour and a half doing that as well. Great.
Quality. Anything else to add, Luke, for that at all? Like different franchises getting into the genre?
No, I think it's a bit of a goldmine, really. I think it's good for any genre. Like you see, Lord of the Rings have done it with Battle for Middle Earth. Halo's done it. A lot of niche franchises will probably look at it as an easy out, just to make a game, make a quick buck, because it's got a whole, almost religious following. Strategy games. I would put myself probably in that group where I think strategy is my favorite genre of game. It's fantastic to play, be it against computer or against other people, turn-based, live. One of the things I like about Total War is it takes both of those. The overarching is turn-based, and then when you go to the actual battles, it's live. So you get a taste of both. But no, I think you'll find that most franchises will probably try it one way or another to make a strategy game, I think.
Very true, very true. Got a good question from Phil. Game of Thrones strategy game. What are our thoughts on that? Would we pick that up? Would we play it?
I think Game of Thrones has left a bad taste in everyone's mouth with that last season. I don't think it's funny how the entire populace has almost just turned around and gone, we'll forget about Game of Thrones. Don't worry about it. Most hyped, anticipated show of all time, in my opinion. And after season 8, I think I've maybe had 3 conversations about it. And, it was something I'd speak about daily with multiple groups of friends. So, yes, they'd probably make money on it, but it's not going to be the same gold mine they could have. And it could have been, had Total War picked up Game of Thrones.
Oh, my
that's
goodness.
The perfect map. That's the perfect one for it, because you've got different factions, you've got a big map, you can go across the sea to Westeros, and you could do it almost like Warhammer style with the dragons and the undead, and it could have been such a winner. I'd be surprised if there isn't a mod for it.
Very true.
I think there
probably one for people to miss now.
99% sure there is a Total War mod for Game of Thrones that I've tried before.
Again, that's right. Again, like, it shows these games are so good that like people are going to put their active time into just making what universe they like the most or franchise into a game like Total War. Like characters maybe from games. For example, I remember when Total War was first played, and there were some like miniature figures that weren't in the game, and they were like, "Well, I'm going to spend my time like rendering these figures, giving them attributes, giving them the abilities." So when they're modded, they're like, "Right, you can now play the vampires that like ride the massive bats into battle because maybe they weren't in there at the start." So there's a lot of backing behind how good these are and how much the community wants to push it even further, which is good to see. Yeah, pretty nice. Let's go through a different also about the different ways in a strategy game you like how much it's spread now. So when we all first originally spoke about strategy games, we were all like Age of Mythology or Rome Total War, and I think Luke, yours is kind of a bit more towards what I'm trying to say, but mine and Young's Age of Mythology is just you kill them and you win. Like, in a way, you can get a bit of diplomacy with maybe an ally, but even then, you and your ally had to go and kill someone else. And a lot of the game was just like resource building, build an army, send them over and do the dirty, get it done. And so how has that like evolved now into so many different other games? So, well, same with Luke with Rome Total War, diplomacy has become like a really big thing now in a lot of these strategy games where instead of people wanting to win through brute force, they like the ways of maybe trading and diplomacy, for example. So is there any other ways kind of strategy games has evolved into how like you might, for example, win? Any ideas?
I think we kind of touched on it earlier. You can win. Civ Rev's probably the best one. You can win, building a certain building or getting a certain financial earning, or even if people love you a certain way. I guess for Total War, it's more it's not exactly a winning factor, but doing it will make you win. So you could get an allegiance with someone, and they could their provinces are in essence your own, and it'll allow you to expand better. And likewise financially, if you set up the right trade through diplomacy, you're going to be able to expand quicker. So I don't think it needs to lose its kind of individuality in that. Yes, strategy is generally about conquering, but how you conquer is kind of the ability for the player to decide, do I want to do it just through brute force off the bat straight away, throw everything I've got at it? Do I want to build it up over time? How do you want to go about that? I think that's what I like about strategy, is that there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yes, of course. Young, what's your thoughts on like the evolution of strategy games and how you might be able to play them and win?
Skinning cats.
That's next episode.
How do you skin them?
I think that a lot of with strategy games, a lot of what it is as well is just the way games have evolved over time, just in terms of what you can and can't do. So they might have had ideas really to play every. Well, I mean, I went to uni and did games design. One of the things they always tell you is the biggest thing when you're making a game is like player choice, especially as you go on. Like players want choices. People don't want to build. Unless you've got a really, really great story and and like that's the reason it's linear, is that you're sticking to this incredible story. Then but even then, players want choices of how do I do this? Okay, how do I go there? How can I do that? Is there different ways to do this? And I think a lot of with strategy games, it's just like the technology catching up with it. Because I mean, strategy, especially when you talk about something like maybe Total War or something like that. people have been conquering people in different ways for years and years. It's not always been, I'm going to go in and just kill you sort of thing. So it's not like they even had to come up with those ideas. I think a lot of it comes down to, especially in strategy games, like if the AI isn't good enough, it's so easy to tell in a strategy game. Like if an AI always does the same thing or isn't aggressive enough or doesn't ever try to win by trade or, okay, the AI always tries to win by combat. So, in the old days, you go, okay, the AI always does this. I remember on like Warcraft 3 and stuff like that, the AI would always do set move. Oh, okay, it's going to do this, 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 and get Wind Riders over to you or something. It's going to do this, this, and this. So I think a lot of it comes down to, especially with strategy games, is just as things have progressed, like you can now do more with the AI. So the AI now maybe it goes for, talking about Civ Rev. Maybe now the AI goes, actually, I'm going to go for a culture win. And it's like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, like if you're used to it, the AI is going to mass troops and do this and do that, you're like, oh, the AI is just kind of chilling, making a lot of culture buildings. This doesn't make much sense. Like, it's like, no, it's going to win though. Like and then like the rankings go up. You're like, it's first by like 1,000 points. The AI is better now, so the AI kind of looks and goes, well, I'm not going to beat you on war because you've done this. I'm not going to beat you on that. Okay, I'm going to do this. And then that instantly makes the game more interesting because you're sitting there going, oh, shit, I've got to think on the fly now. Okay, he's doing this. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. So I think that's a lot of what's changed things.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and I think a lot of strategy games are said win in different ways, giving the player choice. Some games have kind of taken that as like maybe the choice of the player. A lot of the players are not from the winning by conquering. So as you mentioned before, games like Frostpunk, that strategy game, it's linear, but it's linear in a way that you don't conquer someone. You kind of just need to like survive. So there's lots and lots of different ways that strategy games evolve, which is really nice to see as well, and different genres all around. We've got a few games, the strategy games that we mentioned before, that we just want to talk about. Say maybe some memories we've had in the game, why it's been good, maybe when it came out, why it stood out to us at that certain time. So I'll just pick up a few now and we'll just head off. So we'll start with Age of Empires then. So I remember when I got Age of Empires 2, and then like, for example, just building the base from the first off was good. And I think the main difference they only had in that game at the time was kind of like building the wonder, or being like the different races across the world. I think one good thing about that having that game, didn't you guys play the campaign where you could be like Joan of Arc from the start and then like carry on through that, and you'd be like Saladin? That was quality. I did like that. That was good. That was one good thing. And the other part of Age of Empires I think I liked the most was probably just the mythology side, because they already had that kind of a bit of background to like pick up with like Greek mythology, but they just added in whatever they wanted to. They could use stuff. If we don't look at a history standpoint, they use stuff of like the Siege of Troy. They put that into the game, and they can just render it however they wanted to. All these types of things. I thought that was really, really good. Yeah, for Age of Mythology. Everyone else got anything else?
Yeah, I think mythology was, for me, I enjoyed it more than Age of Empires because of that sort of, as you say there, just sort of putting a spin on it. And you could have the Norse mythology, you could have the Greek, you could have, that goes on to the Egyptians, and it's as sad as it sounds, it's actually a good way of almost just like educating people with these sort of games, because
Definitely.
of Total War was a great way of educating me through history and countries and geography, because he was staring at a big fat map of Europe the entire game. And the same with mythology. At school you taught about other mythologies like Norse and Egyptian, and learning who the big characters are there, probably not so much. And I do think it's got a good point from that perspective, that it helps in education. Okay, it's not the main purpose of it, but it's definitely helped. And you talk to FIFA players when they go and name a flag, it's fantastic, and the same sort of concept applies with some of these strategy games. But mythology, Age of Empires, again, love those games. And what I like a lot about those is that you get individual resources, and I think not all strategy games do that. Some will just give you one resource. It's gold, it's money, whatever it is, and everything's bought on that one resource. Whereas Age of Empires is you've got wood, you've got ore, you've got gold, and you need to consider all of those factors in sort of the economy of your team. So that was something else that I really enjoyed about those games.
Nice. Okay, just stop me as I go through. So we've made so many lists that I'll just go through. So the Civ Rev games, Young, I know you played one of the most recent Civ Revs, didn't you? Was it 5 or 6 that you played?
6. Whatever. I'm not sure if there's been another one since the last one I played, but I think I played the last one. They might still be just releasing DLC. Yeah, I mean, Civ Rev's always been really good. It's obviously not the same as Total War in the sense that Total War, I feel like the battles are really important, and then even like Age of Empires, really, the battles I think were the most important thing. It was like, okay, well, this is okay. You've got to build your army, you build your units, but then obviously the big difference being it's a 4x game, so it's obviously all done on a hexagonal map. So everyone's got to move by hex. Mm-hmm. I think by doing that, that's one of the reasons why they kind of set themselves apart. There are obviously loads of 4x games now, but they were kind of one of the first ones, and that's what set it apart. You know, it's almost that kind of thing that Saints Row did against GTA. They kind of looked around and went, well, loads of people tried to beat GTA by doing another GTA game. We're just going to make it something complete, like something that's in the same vein. It's still a GTA kind of game, but ours is ludicrous. It's off the rails. Whereas I think they did the same thing. They went, okay, loads of people love these strategy games like this, but we're going to make a 4x game. It's more of a pure strategy game, if you like, because it's all about, okay, resource. You were talking about individual resources are important in Age of Empires. They took that kind of idea and went, what about rather than saying, okay, you've got to go and collect the resources, there's a set number of tiles and they give you extra resource that way. You've really got to think about it. Okay, in war, we can still give you units, but rather than saying, oh, you've got to individually control each unit and make sure you put them everywhere, you can just set your army up as you like. And the units, it's all about having the right composition of units rather than being good at micro.
Yeah, be micro, and yeah.
And stuff like that. It is more on a macro scale, I guess. Then, so I think Civ is great, and like Luke said earlier as well, it's one of those games that's really good just because there's, I think it's like 6 ways you win. Science, culture, gold, military.
You can win by gold. You just collect gold and you just win.
I think you've got to get
extra talks, man.
It's just like you just basically buy every other nation.
You pay them all off.
You can do religion as well. They added like religion in the latest Civ Revs, which I thought was really good. And it is just more. It's not necessarily. I wouldn't say it's better. I think it's just different, and that's what I guess the theme we're seeing with all these strategy games. You can make a strategy game and it'd be really good just by being a bit different. Okay, we're so used to playing this Age of Empires style. I build up my army, I go there, attack the base. Oh, this is different. And then as soon as something's different, you go, it's fun. Frostpunk, it's not even, you don't do any battle in that game. It's like, I suppose maybe you could argue it's more of a management sim than it is a strategy game. But, the strategy is now, okay, rather than me having to worry about this, what's my strategy for getting this, getting that? So.
I like it. I think another strategy game we haven't really kind of touched on yet, which I think would be just strategy, but it's definitely got other links to it. Games like XCOM and the new Gears of War Tactics, for example. These kind of strategy games are, how would you kind of say these are different yet similar to the other strategy games we've talked about?
XCOM is like completely is like a turn-based strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
So which makes it good. XCOM, I've loved both the XCOM, the 2 new XCOM games they brought out. Similar kind of thing to what we said before, where it's strategy, but it's different. It's turn-based strategy. Okay, how are we going to make it a bit different? They kind of tried to combine the two. So you've got your command room where you do all your upgrades and you try and find your resource and you try and kit out your units.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also give you a bit of that more personal side where you can, almost like the hero system from Total War, where you get invested in your units in XCOM because you can customize them. And, if you've given them, this is my sniper and it's got a 6 scope on his sniper and he's got this and he's got that. And then you go into if you do it Iron Man, so every turn you do it saves. When they die, you're like, oh God, I believe he's gone.
Years of academy training wasted.
And what XCOM was great. XCOM was set up to make you care about those things. They had when your soldiers died, there was a Hall of Honor, and you could have that soldier's picture up there, and you got this many missions, this many kills, this many, and you sit there and be like, oh, God, I'm never going to find another Sniper 452. Oh,
I'm going to say, Young, just tell us who was it? Who did you still miss? Just tell us.
Had I never used to name mine.
Oh, yeah.
But they all have all different nationalities in XCOM. I think he was called Rodrigo something. Rodrigo Bedendas, I think.
Hold on, let me try and guess where he's from.
He was a sniper I found on
I was going to go Mexico, but...
Well, no, I think he was Brazilian, and he was like a sniper fan on the 3rd mission or something. And he, oh my God, I don't know what it was. I don't really like snipers a lot of the times in that game. I feel like the hit chance isn't that good. He hit every shot, and I'm pretty sure he got killed by a grenade or something. And I was just like, what?
Young's first child, by the sound of it's going to be called Rodrigo.
I was just like, put your bets on now. Oh god, goodness me! Not fair play. I mean, to be honest, if he's down by a grenade, I think that's just bad tactical skill. To be honest, so I don't know who that probably is going to go down to one person alone. Oh dear. Moving swiftly on. I think we haven't played as well. I think Total War. I think we've talked about it a bit more, but I think one thing they've done well and somehow made money from just history is things how they've brought out not just one specific franchises like Total War and other games as such. They've brought things like the Japanese feudal war. They've done Britannia. They've done medieval. So they've really thought back at like historical events and such. So kind of reenacting different battles. So they've really gone with that. Has any of you guys ever bought any of the older ones and played any of those?
Yeah. I think I've got just about all of them. So I think my first one I had was medieval, then medieval Viking invasion. Then you've got the Rome Alexander expansion along with the barbarian invasion. So you've got, like you say, historically and educationally, it's all there, and it's all you can fight the historical battles. There's even an option in the main menu to go and check the battles that happened as per, how the ambush happened or how the siege happened. So yeah, fantastic game in that respect. You've got Empire, you've got Shogun 2, Medieval 2, Rome 2.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got, they've touched on it all, and again, like it's just helpful stuff to know. Just to, again, I don't use the word educate because I'm not a fucking teacher at the end of the day, but it's really helpful. It's really helpful.
Imagine you, history teacher, go play 200 hours of Shogun 2, and then you pass Japanese history.
It's completely accurate.
Actually, when you finish, write an essay on it. And I don't want to hear about how this guy did something in turn 200. Yes. I want the history of it, all right?
I don't want to hear about Rodrigo and his sniping at all. I want to hear about someone else. Oh, God. Nah, but I think I like that those kind of historical games. And I know the historical strategy game we haven't touched on yet. Is there any of you guys played any of the Company of Heroes games?
I remember a Company of Heroes. Remember when we used to go to Game Sector? That's the only flag. I've got Company of Heroes 3 or something. Like I got it off a bundle, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that I used to always play it when we went to Game Sector.
There was Game Sector, Birmingham. Saturday day, you found the whole school week, you think, right, what we're doing Saturday, lads? So you go to Game Sector, you turn up, £5 all day, and we sat on probably the best custom-built computers for about 6 hours, and we went, should we just play a 6-hour game of Company of Heroes? Yes. And it was unreal. Hours and hours.
You get the different coloured cards, and I remember, because my birthday is so much later than everyone else's, like I remember one week, I'm sure we went, and it was like me, you, Mike, Hez and Phil, and you were all 16, and we had to be 15 or 16. I can't remember.
I think it was
whatever age it was. You lot were all that, and I still had a white card, which was like you're only allowed downstairs in the baby section. And I was like, no, and I never remember how my heart was beating because I think it was Mike who was like, right, I'm going to drop you my card. I'm going to go up the thing, and I'm going to drop it downside. You've got to get my card, and then you show it. All right then. And it was happening. I honestly thought it was part of like a flipping drug bust. I was like, oh my god. And I walked up to the guy, like, yeah, hello sir, here's my black card. He's like, yeah, all right. It's just like in retrospect, you look back, it's probably some like 19-year-old bloke who likes games. He's like, I don't care, mate. Go play some video games. Who cares? It's only Company War and stuff. God.
The hours we sunk into that place every weekend was just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I will never in my life forget Howard winning that. I'm pretty sure he won the Guitar Hero competition. We were sitting there. It was one of those days when we've been playing games.
This is good story time. Start from the start. Hold on, I've never heard this before.
The guy came over and he was like, "Are any of you any good at guitar?" And we were all like, "We're all right." So we were like, "Howard's really good," and he was like, "Oh, are you? Think you can do Through the Fire of the Flames on hard, do you?" And Howard was like, "Well, yeah." And we were like, and we were all there like, "He will do it." And he's like, and they were like, "Oh," and he went up there, and I'm sure. Maybe he came second. I think he got like a shirt or something for it, but he got up there. I'm pretty sure that took 2 rounds. It was if you could complete it. He completed it on like 85%, and someone else did, and then they did it again on like expert or something. And I think the other guy won in the end. But yeah, good times.
Good times. Memories there. Oh god, back in the day, leaving your house to get games, not just download them all on Steam. Oh, what happened?
Happiness. What happened?
Oh god. I'm just going to go through some fan favourites of myself now and have for more discussions. Lotja Bruthma 2, avid Lord of the Ring fans as we all are in here. Lotja Bruthma 2 has a close place in my heart, I must have to say. I'm not ashamed. I'm a bit annoyed that there wasn't enough kind of unit selection in there for how much there could have been, but just the feeling of playing Lord of the Rings and then like loving Lord of the Rings and being able to play it as a game for strategy was just incredible. I remember coming back from school at like 5 o'clock. You'd sit on there, and first of all, I remember Morwen. You weren't allowed to play as her because she was the most overpowered hero you ever had in the game. I think max level 10, her spear throw one-shot anyone. Gandalf, mate, you're gone. Aragorn's no more. She had a longer range of a javelin throw than Legolas did with his bow. It was insane. And the best part about that game is, you know, in like the older games, if they start like an animation, but then the person's already run out of range, you just like carried on and it hits them, kind of thing. For some reason, if he was walking past on a horse and she got on the animation of the spear throw, you were already gone. Even if you ran half the map, you were gone. It was awful. So you couldn't play her. We used to play Helm's Deep, and it used to be like 3-on-1. And if you put your archers like at the top row, and they were a bit fiddly with like unit management, sometimes you'd click on the top and they'd run to the bottom and die. But if you got them just on the top, they could shoot about 3/4 of the map. So you'd have to build your base that far back. And we used to have to actually like strategically be it right. All the fodder goes at the front because they're going to get aggroed straight away. So like one person out of the three of us would just build tanks and nothing else. And you were there just to take hits. That's all you did. Honestly, that's all you did. You were there with the shields at the front, like, right, George, your army's going to die, but you're the sacrifice we have to make. And everyone else just built horses because they were the quickest thing that could get there. And it was just like, we're doing it, lads, we're doing it. And you just like, you go up and everyone would die. And you get to like the first ramp and you just die. And it was, yeah, it was bad. But I remember those days. And I remember, this is my best story now. I think we started about 8 o'clock. So we'd had dinner, we got on. Phil, I don't know if he's in the chat, if he's listening. It was me, Mike Cooper, and Matt. And Phil was in Helm's Deep. And I think we put like a bet on to say who was going to win. And we're like, oh no, we'll just like, we'll carry on. It got to about 10 o'clock and we hadn't even got to the top yet. And Phil had like Galadriel because he had the ring as well. That was hilarious. The ring was just spawned near me, but Phil got it this time. Anyway, it got to about 10 and Matt went, yeah, I'm going off now. And if you leave the game, you just leave completely and your whole base goes. So now it's just me and Mike against Phil in Helm's Deep. And I'm like, brilliant, we're never going to win this. This is ridiculous. Then, all of a sudden, we're playing. Phil starts to bring his people out the base, and me and Mike kind of like jostle a bit. It gets about 11 o'clock, and then Mike goes, and then goes, yeah, I'm going now as well, Jordan. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not spending nearly 3 hours in this game to just lose. So I built. Did you remember if you built one castle, you got like an as the elves? Didn't you get like an eagle or something? Do you remember that? You get like one flying eagle per castle.
Maybe, yeah, I think so. I just remember the elves. I just remember mithril arrows.
Well, the game lasted this long that I had 50 castles in the corner of Helm's Deep, so I had 50 eagles, and there was a spot on the right-hand side. If you just got them in, the arrows couldn't get them, so I put them just a bit further back. Phil wanted to go to bed and beat me, so he brought his entire army off the top shelf, came all the way down out the gates to come and kill me. In the meantime, 30 eagles flew down the side, and they pecked at Helm's Deep like no end and killed him. And I remember taking a photo on my Samsung on my Sony Ericsson the next day, and I walked to school and I was just like, Phil, you see this? Win it. That's what that is. And I still remember that game till now, and it's amazing.
The most cheesy story I've ever heard in my entire life. Anyway, we were playing the game, and I just cheesed and won. That was great.
This is the 3-hour game.
4 hours to just glitch out the map and come round on him like, haha, sucker.
Oh god, that was great. We used to make things as well with heroes that if a hero ever attacked another one, you weren't allowed to run away. Then that was it. You had to just like
stay and fight.
You had to stay and fight. Phil's in the chat now crying because he remembers it as well. I remember there was other times as well where there was little in Lottery. Do you remember there used to be like spider lairs and like cave troll lairs that were around? Yeah. If you got your hero and put it in defensive stance and put it next to it, you just farm the XP again and again, and we'd be like, oh, all right then, what? If when you get to level 10, like do it to level, we said do it to level 5, and then just destroy it, and it won't respawn. Anyway, we were playing with Phil again, and Phil left the game.
Who'd have thought?
Literally, the game finished, and we went up to his base, and what was still there after like an hour, the cave troll there, so all his heroes are level 10. Oh, it was awful. Don't play with that guy. Don't play with him.
Yeah, don't ever play games with Phil.
Yeah, anyone watching, don't play with Phil.
Yeah, he just cheats. He just literally is that obsessed with winning, he will do anything.
Oh goodness me, those are the days. Any of the strategy games you guys remember now through the days? Any memories you've thought back of?
One that has to get a cameo for me is Red Alert 2. just one of the best strategy games of
See,
all time.
This is bad. I'm sorry to butt in. I've never played Red Alert 2 ever. I played Command and Conquer Generals, but I never played Red Alert 2. Is this the one with like the Russian?
Command and Conquer.
This is the one with the Russian dolphins with like laser beams on their head.
Oh, that's Red Alert 3, and that's
That's all I know about it.
It's like Austin Powers. Those freaking sharks with freaking lasers on their freaking heads. Okay.
I want to hear about this, Luke. Carry on.
Red Alert 2 didn't have any bears or dolphins with lasers, or you couldn't command a squid. That was Red Alert 3, and yeah, as with all of these things, the money took over and they just wanted to milk it. But Red Alert 2, oh my goodness, the fact that they had Hollywood actors in video sequences in between the sort of levels was just mind blowing. Like,
so like the cutscenes between the different campaigns had like actual real
Hollywood actors. Like, if you go and check Red Alert 2 now, and I might bring it up now, but you've got the gentleman from Lost. I can't remember his name. Not the main dude.
I think that is it. I think he's called the bloke from Lost.
The bloke from Lost. That's what he's known as, right?
Really? Wow.
I'm gonna Google it quickly. When we go on the next topic,
literally just doing the same thing while you were talking. I was thinking, I'll back you up.
So how
what's that?
I was going to say, as you're googling the guys, like how. So talk about some of these units then in this game, because that is in my head when someone says Red Alert 2, I just remember that someone saying you could be like Russian dolphins with lasers killing people, and to me, I was like, this is a bit far. But yeah, talk us through.
Red Alert 2 was perfect. Red Alert 2 was the perfect blend of sort of strategy, war, but also like a little bit of comedy. So it was mainly sort of Russia versus the Allies. The Allies being, you could be America, you could be England, you could be Germany, you could be France. And each of the countries had their own special unit. So Germany had the Grand Cannon, which was this big fuck-off cannon that could shoot like half the map. And this is a live strategy. Germany had the Tank Busters. France had the Grand Canyon. England had a certain type of jet that you could use, or a sniper, and it was just really nice that you all got sort of a niche pick as to what your unit was. But it was also quite funny in that, like, the little cutscenes would have these big actors, like the lady from Resident Evil. What's her name?
Jovovich. Yeah,
she's in it.
No.
I don't know.
Do it again, Jordan. It's not Milla Jovovich. What is it again?
Milla
Jovovich.
I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
so carry on.
So that's like, she's in it. And okay, she's not an A-list celebrity, but certainly maybe a D or a C. But some of them were bigger than that, and it was really good that they got that sort of level of person. And I know you often get that in people doing the voiceovers in games, but for them to actually star in it was great, and it was so funny, easy to play, and all of the units had their own voice and their own sort of sayings, and it became very like cultist. If you went and typed in Red Alert 2, I guarantee you on YouTube you'll find on the top hits just like a list of all the people and what they say, because it was that sort of individual. It's a tough one for me to get across with two guys who've never played the game, but definitely a takeaway for both of you is to go and play it, because it's fucking phenomenal.
Was it Command and Conquer 2, Red Alert 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't say Milla Jovovich. Oh, fucking whatever she's called. I don't know. I'm taking the piss. Says in here, Ray Wise was in it. I'm not really heard of him. Udo Kier, Barry Corbin, Corey Walker. There's a lot of people in them, but I do feel you've overstayed Hollywood celebrity here. Look, I'm not going to lie.
I was thinking about George Clooney. It's going to turn.
It has got like a cast of 57 people, so they did really go all out with live action. You're right about that. I don't think there's as many Hollywood stars as you feel.
I'm gonna do some research, and I'm gonna put some faces on the screen. And if you think that these people are a Hollywood celeb, then you can obviously back me up on this one.
This could be a topic for next week.
Celebs in this game.
Right,
you got to come back. You got to come back next week to find out, were they Hollywood celebrities? And next week.
We'll go through them all. We'll rank them 1 to 50 out of all these 50 of these people, all right? And we'll see which is the best. 57. So we'll get an average of their IMDb score in films. We'll put them in a tally. We'll be fine.
Yeah. We can gauge it. I tell you, they'll probably won an Oscar from this game, easy. But
It's getting more and more extreme. Sure, the game was up for like 9 Academy Awards. There was a lot of stuff. That game had everything.
You know, dolphins, lasers, Russians. What more?
Freaking dolphins with freaking lasers on their freaking heads.
Oh god, we're getting into it now. Again, Luke mentioned Red Alert 2. Any of the games that we haven't talked about yet that you guys have thought back now? Strategy games.
Warcraft 3 was an incredible game.
Oh, you see, that's something
Warcraft
we haven't.
3 Reforged came out and is apparently absolutely garbage. So,
oh wow!
Just
Well, I can say Warcraft 3 is huge because that links to our last podcast about League of Legends. Like Warcraft 3, some guy
Warcraft 3 created League of Legends basically.
He did, yeah. He did.
That's how big Warcraft 3 was. Is that a game came from it?
Yeah, Dota came from like some guy literally made a mod, Defense Against the Ancients, and just like, yeah, this is good. And then someone was like, that's a good idea. I'm going to make a better idea. He made Dota. Someone went, that's a good idea. I'm going to make a better idea, and then made League of Legends. So,
well, they stole a lot of work. If you look back at it,
true. I mean, again, like the Invitational's still massive for Dota, so they've still got.
I mean, Dota's huge. Warcraft 3 was just great because, like, the reason Dota and all those kind of things came from it. I personally wasn't really interested in Rank Ladder, which was just standard Warcraft 3, which was still a great strategy game. 1v1 or 2v2 or 3. I think you go up to 4v4. But the best part about it was custom games, and in custom games there were also that's where Dota started. So Dota All Stars, Dota. There was I can't remember the name, but it was like a similar thing where you'd pick a hero character and you had to do creeps came down in waves. It was like Horde mode in strategy game before Horde mode even existed. There weren't Horde mode games at this point, but they made like a Horde mode. It might have even been called Horde. Can't remember. It's like ages. There was a Uther Party, which is basically like Mario Party in World of Warcraft. in Warcraft 3. There was so many people were so creative. And I'm pretty sure. Oh, the reason they made Warcraft 3 Reforged is because people are still playing Warcraft 3. And it's like, it's just such. I mean, well, now I don't think they are, because I'm pretty sure they flipped on the servers when they made Warcraft 3 Reforged, but never mind. It was one of those games where, like, it was. I think that's important for a lot of strategy games as well. You know, we talked about like Warcraft, Total War mods earlier and stuff like that, putting things in. Modding, I think, is such a big part in strategy games. Like, if you want your strategy game to be a long-term game, where Warcraft 3 lasted for literally years upon years, because you know people could mod games, and you could just, as long as you could create a fun game and people wanted to play it, then guess what? It's there. Like you don't like you're saying, you know, Dota. Not everything's like Dota, where literally another or 2 games spawn, well, 3. You could argue, because there was like Dota. You know, from literally think about the fact that from a custom game, Defense of the Ancients, from that spawn Dota itself, League of Legends, Heroes of New Earth was from that. Heroes of the Storm has essentially come from that.
True, Blizzard's version,
like, So you know, and that's all just from. I'm pretty sure it's called Icy Frog or something like that.
So just one guy being able to mod a game.
Yeah, now on to he's on, like, obviously on the Dota thing, but yeah, all from that. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Good. So again, so like, some games don't even ask for like you can mod some games in Steam Workshop, but some games just still don't allow you. So it's a good that they allowed that from the start, because we wouldn't even have, maybe even like going even further from Dota to League, you wouldn't even have like the esports scene as it would be today, would it? Because League of Legends kind of, I think, brought that big as it is at the moment. Obviously, there's games before like StarCraft, for example, but more
Counter Strike's been going on for years. Like,
yeah, you'd say that. I guess true as well.
If you look in, especially if you look at stuff like the East, like StarCraft was bigger than League of Legends was to begin with. Like StarCraft was huge there forever. In the West and like Europe, Counter Strike was like the biggest game for a while. I mean, don't worry, I'm not taking anything away from it. I know what you mean. Like League did obviously like make it, and League's whole thing has always been like they want to be mainstream.
Yeah,
I always felt like in terms of look at Counter Strike or StarCraft and stuff, they're almost happy. Like, you know, we're for the people who played StarCraft and stuff. Whereas League has always been like, yeah, let's get NBA. Oh, we want to look NBA players like us. Oh, let's talk to Shaq. Like, yeah, let's do this. You know, Shaq's got a team. This has got a team. Oh, yeah. It's like, come on, everyone loves us, don't they?
Yeah. Well, then again, they've pumped so much money in that they've made like how many spin-off games from that as well. So they've put their money in the right places for marketing. To be honest, so fair play to them.
Well done, right? You've managed to come up with those incredibly innovative ideas, like a Hearthstone's League of Legends game. And, we're making Battle Chasers, League of Legends. Like, can you come up with an original idea first before you call yourself a game company?
Wow, Shadowlands has done really well. Get the MMORPG.
Yeah, we're making an MMO. Do it now. We've got Ghost Coin. Didn't even worse than that. They went, "That's cool. Didn't you used to work on it?"
Oh, yeah.
Years and he went, "Yeah, we did." They were like, "Come make an MMO for us," and I don't know.
I've got a
I
plan.
like original ideas. Any idea you had over there, bring it here because we don't like original ideas anyway. So the older the better.
The older the better. I like that. I respect.
Bring it over here.
Oh god, yeah. Okay, and so many things that stem from strategy games. It seems. Any others we've thought of or can remember? I think I've talked to Warhammer 40k. Those are some good things from different franchises. Stellaris, we've mentioned a bit. I think Stellaris for me, when I tried to make it with you, and that was kind of a bit difficult to get into. There was like a lot of depth in that game in terms of like colonizing different planets, and you can like really. I think I've never seen a game in terms of that customize the actual race you start with, because a lot of games with like Total War, you either start as goodness me, you either start as the Romans or the Celts or the Barbarians. Even like lots of other games, Company Heroes, Allies, Axis. I think with Stellaris or something we haven't touched on too much is you can really modify how you want to start with. So you already give yourself a starting hand of, if you know you want to win on the cultural win, you start to take all the cultural perks. If you know you want to win by military, then you take all the military perks, and it kind of like enhances your military power, but maybe might deteriorate civil unrest in your colony, for example. Like there's give and take. So I think Stellaris is one that we can talk about, which games can learn from as well. What do you think?
No, Stellaris is really good. It's a Paradox game, and Paradox have I think they made. What was it? Maybe they didn't make Crusader Kings, but they make quite a few grand strategy games. Yeah, I mean, I haven't played Stellaris. I used to play loads of it, and they changed a bunch of things and updated, and it kind of, when I went back in, I hadn't played for a while, and it was just completely different, and it kind of turned me off to it. But I really enjoyed Stellaris. I think, like you say, that's one of those games where they, we were talking about choice earlier, they basically did that to the max, where, like you say, they literally went, okay, yeah, not only choosing how your race looks cool, but that's almost irrelevant in the sense of the perk system was like, I thought great in terms of, okay, you've got a set amount of perk points. Okay, you want to have 7 good perks. Okay, and also the way they balanced it. You've got to take a negative perk to get more perk points then. So, I mean, like everything, people eventually work out the easiest things. Oh, okay, you can take -5 happiness, and actually it doesn't matter that much, because as long as you're doing your kind of colonies right, you've got to have enough happiness.
As long as your colonies are robots and there's no happiness anywhere, so you're fine.
or you just do like a hive mind race or an AI race, and it's like, well, it doesn't matter if we're happy or not, we'll do whatever we want. But even that itself, like I think that was such a cool choice, because before they added those expansions where you could be hive mind and AI, it was all, I think you still could get that, but it was like a real end game thing where it was like once you went through a series of scenarios, now you can choose to be the AI or something like that. Yeah, I really like, the other thing I really liked about Stellaris as kind of a game, which I thought was cool, is there was a lot of almost emergent storylines in it where there were certain like random, almost roguelike elements to it, where you've encountered this scenario this time. You might not encounter it every other run through. You might only encounter it if you've got a set different kind of things. Mm-hmm. But you encounter a certain thing, and then it just completely changes the way you play. Maybe originally you weren't planning on going high into like your religious values or something on Stellaris, but then you hit like a certain planet, and it's like, you found a religious artifact. Now everybody will believe in your religion if you want, and it's like, yes, yeah, all right, then I'll do that.
The religion of give all your money to me.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on it, but it turns out I'm a holy crusade now. It's like, I think Stellaris is really good.
Nice. Again, something else to think of, how the even more, as you said, player options, customizable, just taking it even further and further. Not bad. Well, I think that's everything we've written down from before in terms of strategy games. Anything else we haven't mentioned that you've now thought, I didn't say this before, or anything else? Luke, I saw you looking over at your shelf, looking for a few more strategy games over there. Anything you caught your eye, or?
I was, and one that's come up on a previous podcast was Empire at War, Star Wars. Really enjoyed that one. I was looking at Starship Troopers, and again, that's a fucking fantastic franchise.
I mean, now you say Starship Troopers, I'm feeling we've got under the... Even though we did say about the film that we're going to choose for next week, that's kind of led me on a different line for what film we probably should choose instead. But carry on.
I've never seen
Starship Troopers.
You've never seen...
I've seen one bit. Isn't some girl get her boobs out in the shower? I think I've seen that bit.
You've not seen Starship Troopers?
I mean, I'm just being honest with you. That is the only bit I've seen, is the boobs out in the shower.
Well, that is not the best bit.
I looked at... Well, doubtful. I looked... The shit's all right.
That's a movie and a half. That is a movie and a half.
We got some Phil Halo Wars. We touched on Halo Wars a bit, Phil. We kind of mentioned in terms of how lots of franchises talked about how my game's already an FPS, but it's a campaign, and that's what drives it. And the multiplayer is good. Like it's so easy just to transport all the 2 different races, maybe 3 different races with the AI at the moment, into like Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2. Matt Parrott, Black and White, playing as God. Oh, I never played that. You guys played the Black and White, or Black and White 2?
That. It's always caught my eye, but I've never actually invested in it.
Oh,
Young Lionhead, who did all the Fable games. It's like you essentially, it goes even further than just like you're a city builder where you are literally just God. Like that's not that you are God. That's the game. Yeah, you like pick things up with like your fingers and drop them around and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I haven't played loads and loads of it, but I've got it on my PC. It's one of those games where I think I always tried to play it too late because I tried to play it like 4 years ago, maybe. It came up in like a Humble Bundle or something, but it's like a really old game. So it's one of those games where you play now and you're a bit like, well, this isn't very intuitive. But obviously it's just a product of the time. You know, it came out however long ago, and that's the way it works. But yeah, no, it was still a fun game. I can see it was one of those games where even though I didn't enjoy it as much playing it later on, I could see why so many people were like, oh my god, when this came out. It's one of those games you go, I can appreciate when you look at the other games out at that time, it was like way ahead of everything else, but then you play it 4 or 5 years later, it's like, well, this has obviously informed a load of games along the way, sort of thing. Like they've taken
leaves out of like Black and White's book to think, let's take it even further back. Yeah, fair enough. I like that. I think mentioning Halo Wars, like Phil said, it's quite easy as well to kind of use your kind of fan base as well to drive them into other genres. So maybe a lot of people that play games like Halo, maybe they only played like COD and Medal of Honor, for example, before just FPS. So it really gives those kind of companies a way to make more products and make more money, but then also help the consumer to be a bit like, well, I only really play FPS, but do you know what? I'd never play strategy games, but I do like Halo, so I'll give it a try. And maybe after trying that, they're a bit like, oh, do you know what? I quite like this game. And then they don't actually see Halo as the kind of drive towards it. They maybe see the base building, and that's when they kind of drift off into more strategy games, which is a nice thing for both parties as a win-win, definitely. We got a question from Phil. Why isn't there more strategy games on consoles? Well, I'm trying to think before we answer it. I played, Civ Revolutions on console. That was okay. I've played Halo Wars 2 on console. And thinking back, and Lotcha Buffmer as well, thinking back to when I played it, I think for the first time I ever did it, coming from Age of Empires and Rome Total War, at the time you're very skeptical and a bit like, do you know what? This isn't going to work out. You're so used to like dragging and clicking individual boxes, deleting this, moving this, making sure that aesthetic-wise your base looks nice because you can really get a better feel with the mouse. So at the time, but I felt a bit, no, this isn't going to work. But you kind of pick it up and get used to it. But you guys want to touch in on why there probably isn't more strategy games on the consoles?
I think it's just a bit clunkier. I think it's a bit slower. I think you can be a bit more reactive with the mouse and a bit more precise with what you're doing. Using 2 analogs to achieve the same thing is a little bit trickier, generally speaking, I think. And I guess from a hardware point of view, you can, if you're looking at maybe Total War, and again, apologies, keep going back to that one, but Total War, I know you can run some really high spec machines, and consoles maybe wouldn't be able to keep up with that, with just the volume and size and quality you're looking to play with. So yeah, things like Halo Wars, where you've got the guys who have been playing Halo on an Xbox, you probably want to keep it on the Xbox, but trying to sort of push that onto a PC, you could have a much better, bigger game, a lot easier to play. But would they buy a PC for that game just for Halo? Do they own a PC? I guess it's probably the stumbling block.
Very true. Young, anything to add at all for that?
I mean, no, the reason why they don't is actually, well, the actual reason is because it is just too clunky. Like, you think of a keyboard, how many, even if you kind of say, okay, I'm using the mouse to scroll around, just how many keys are on a keyboard. You look at a lot of games like that, how many key bindings you can have, how many things you can have to match different things. It all just comes down to buttons, essentially. You've got, 1 second, I'll tell you. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 8 buttons that aren't, 8 buttons and a D-pad outside of your analog sticks on a controller. And you've got, you've already got the entire alphabet on your keyboard, so you can start there and then try and work out how many extra keys are. I think I know how many keys, you've got, so
and
literally
you've got control to double it as well.
Yeah. So you've got eight buttons on an Xbox, and probably over 1, 2, 3, 6. There's 6 buttons down the side of the row. So yeah, let's just say, I don't know. let's say 40 buttons on your keyboard. I think maybe it's more, but so you've literally got over 4 times the amount of buttons on a PC.
Yeah.
Plus, then if you've got a mouse that's got buttons on the side of it, then you can add an extra up to maybe 12. But it's just that's literally what it comes down to. I think is that on an Xbox, it takes so much more effort to make a role like an RTS game for an Xbox, because you've got to think about the controller and think, okay, how is this person going to play this without sitting there going, this just feels so clunky and so weird to move around and think like this. How can I make this intuitive with 8 buttons when I'm trying to also make a really cool strategy game which has got like 25 buildings and however many units and everything? Whereas on a PC, you kind of don't even have to worry about that aspect. You can just focus purely on making the game.
Yeah, I seem to recall that on Halo Wars, to select like a group of units, you held down A, and the circle sort of started small and it would start expanding. The longer you held it, and that was how you sort of got a group of units. And if you compare that to sort of like you sort of dragging a box on a computer, it's just so much easier, so much quicker. You're used to it from the typical walks of life. I mean, I'm presuming everyone here watching this is from a first world country, so it's a pretty blanket statement I'll make there, that everyone's comfortable on a computer.
I see what you mean in terms of like the best way they could come up with, which was just a circle to get bigger. Where on a computer you could probably customize it to be like, if you control click it, you could choose all of the infantry. If you maybe like control M, it maybe merges all the infantry together if some of them are weak. Maybe if you like double tap one, then you can select maybe all the ones on the left. If you click one and hold control, you just join the ones that you click on there. So again, customize in many different ways you can do it. And then graphics-wise, how much more powerful you can make a computer, that's probably the 2 beneficial ways that maybe why they played more. I think Matt's answered it as well. It's similar to when Sims went out on PS2 and was terrible, as it was so hard to move and grab. And again, Sims is just meant to be kind of like easy, chill game. If you're trying to spend so long on a PS2 trying to move around with an analog and a joystick, and again, you think back to the like PS2 controllers now, you fit in your hand compared to today's like Xbox or PS5 controllers. They weren't that well designed for hand because they were quite small. So again, it's just not really a good thing to put it on. So probably why there are computers. Wow, we have got through strategy game to strategy game, and it's probably given us a bit of an itch to get on there and play a few scenarios again. Is there any of the games we haven't said or haven't mentioned that we want to talk about before we get into the last kind of segment of the show? Anything at all?
Nothing that I can think of. I think just generally thinking, there's not many strategy games for planes and ships. Just thinking aloud, that it's typically sort of ground warfare, space, infantry, that sort of stuff. There's no real specific strategy games for at sea, like battleships or submarines, because that's a very strategic area of warfare. You'd have thought that they'd maybe gone into more information there, but I think we've covered a lot of the good ones. Definitely the ones worth talking about. The Command and Conquer franchise is fantastic for me. The Total War is fantastic because they're almost doing the opposite of what Halo have done. They're now pulling in other franchises like the Warhammers, like the Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah. You got to think as well, like they wouldn't do that without thinking they're going to make money. Imagine how much like Games Workshop said, like, do you know what? If you want Warhammer and you want all of our like TM of units, you need this much, and they're like, yeah, sure. We know how popular this is going to be, so we're going to make absolutely loads from this anyway. Like the Total Warhammer 2, if you go and look on Steam and you see the DLC, you've got to scroll down for ages to find all those DLC units, and people are going to pay extra money to pay with a 2-headed dinosaur killing rats. People will pay more money to do that. And Luke, that's something you would do all the time.
100%. I mean, I'll lose every evening in my life doing that. So.
Quality. And again. Last thing for me for strategy game is I think just the way of doing it yourself, and sometimes you've got so much freedom to play how you want to play. That's what kind of draws it to me. If I want to make an army, even though it's not the best, if you want to make an army of just 50, I don't know, for example, Total War, if I want to make an army of just 50 units of just guns with no front line, I can do that. If I want to make an army of just pure cavalry and pretend I'm just going to be Theoden on the plains of Pelennor, I'm just going to do that as well. Like I can just do whatever I want to do, and that's kind of the freedom you have. So that's why I like strategy games personally. Luke, what's your like pinnacle reason why strategy games are good?
It's exactly as you said. You can play it to. It's nice, that feeling of winning a strategy game, because it's more of a mental battle, especially if you're playing against other people. It's winning that mental battle. Whereas FPS, you could probably just put it down to, like we said earlier, reactions or if you're a bad player, like some people put it down to your FPS or your connection. But I think for me, it's definitely one that you can sort of sit back and lose time in and lose yourself in the game. And I quite like that. It's not a very stressful game. It's quite a laid back one.
Fair enough. I like that. I think we've lost Young. I think he's had to head off somewhere else. I'm just going to resize a bit more of us so we can see ourselves a bit better. There we go. And I'll just do it myself as well. Right then, on to the film choice. Last week, we did mention that we were going to watch a film. How did that go yourself, Luke? Did we get around to watching and having a look at the film we were talking about? Oh my goodness. He's just come back and I've tried to change everything. Oh my god. Oh, goodness me. Carry on.
So yeah, The Gentleman was obviously last week's film of choice. It's a fantastic film for those of you who haven't seen it already. It's got a really good cast. It's about a topic that's close to home for a lot of us, in that it's drugs. So yeah, we're all big fans of that, obviously.
Oh God, don't say that on the podcast, for God's sake.
But no, I thought it's a really good film. It's a really good film. It's well directed. It's got a great cast in it, plenty of action, and it's one of those films where there's sort of slight spin-offs in it throughout. So it keeps you on your toes. But I've still got 20 minutes to watch of it, but I had seen it previously. So I don't know how you got on with it, Gibbo.
I watched a bit at the start. It kind of reminded me a lot of like Lock, Stock and Snatch. Is that kind of vibes it kind of gets towards as well itself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did enjoy. I saw the cast was quite good as well. Definitely some big people on the names are there, but I've only got about halfway through, and the storyline's quite good. You know, with like trying to like trade off the business and such. But yeah, I could see myself liking the rest of the film. To be honest, I enjoyed it. Not bad.
Yeah, definitely. Lock, Stock and Snatch. That genre, The Gentleman, that sort of thing. Everyone enjoys sort of a gangster movie every now and again, so definitely one to watch.
Definitely. Right, that's the film talked about a bit. We'll see if Young comes back before we talk about the next thing. But I think, in terms of film choice for next week, what we're going to discuss, because I saw Luke mention a name that I think I only ever hear when we talk in conversation between each other. It has to be just.
Hold on a minute.
Hold on.
Did you just finish The Gentleman? I heard the last little bit. You finished The Gentleman chat without me. I feel personally aggrieved.
Very gentlemanly of you, is it?
I need to buy a webcam. I'll do it tonight. It's not working out, unfortunately.
Oh, don't worry. I'll leave it up.
Break every time we try to do it.
Let's hear it then, Young. Gentleman, verdict. What we're saying.
It's fucking brilliant, son. It's just best Guy Ritchie film in a long time. I mean, I don't know what that. No, I mean, if Guy Ritchie's watching this, which I'm sure he is, no offense to him. But I don't know what King Arthur shit was that you did. But like, don't do that again.
Do you want to go in here? Yeah, right.
yeah, exactly. Gentleman was like I just heard the end of what Luke said. It was like a bit like Lock, Stock and Snatch. He's like back to that kind of filmmaking, and I really enjoyed it personally. I thought it was great.
Fair play, good stuff.
Delightful.
I mean, it's hard as well to make a film like Lock, Stock and Snatch because they're already iconic and just so good at what they do anyway. So you kind of have to either make a film that is on par with that, or you don't hear of it. Like, apart from those two and Layer Cake, what other films are similar to that you actually kind of know of that are that kind of like level of good, really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you'd throw The Irishman in there. Maybe not.
It's touching towards there, I guess. It's not as I'm gonna say. It's not as much as a classic either, as well of a film. But yeah,
maybe something like what's it called? The two twins who run
the Cray twins. Is it
the Cray twins?
Is it Legend?
Yeah. Is it Legend? Yeah, with Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
that's
Legend,
really good. That's sort of the same genre of movie, but. Yeah, that genre always goes down a treat for me. It ticks all the boxes for me in terms of what I look for in a film. So
it kind of looks
like who I am.
It kind of looks like as well. Like you can definitely tell in that film if someone's telling you like, oh, we want you to come and be in this like Guy Ritchie film. Are you thinking like, oh, okay, and they're like, yeah, it's like Lock, Stock and Snatch. As an actor, you must be thinking like, this must be so fun to act as just an absolute gangster doing whatever I want, saying what I want on camera. It must be pretty cool. That must be nice.
And there's a lot of alphas in it as well. You got Matthew McConaughey, you got Charlie Hunnam,
Charlie Homer's
got-
absolutely. I never watched Sons of Anarchy, to be honest, but well, that's half the reason why it was so popular, I guess, for his kind of character.
Yeah, you got a lot of people just trying to sort of outdo each other, and I find when that happens, it usually goes pretty well.
True. Young, any closing thoughts on Gentleman? He'll be back with us in just a second, hopefully, when he comes on. Right, before we head off then, we've got to choose a new film for next week. And Luke, I'm hoping you make the right decision on... Let's just say that you have to choose one Starship Troopers then film to choose. I'll give it away. Which Starship Troopers film are we watching for next week's discussion?
So you got to start with the OG, the best one. It's got to be the first one. There's no debate whatsoever as to which one that is.
It's gone again. I'll have to change it around in a sec. Fair play. I'll just turn them off for a sec. Yeah, so I think we'll stay. I think we'll stay for the Starship Troopers one. Then that'll be a good thing to choose from. Definitely a switch around in the genre of film. We've got a bit of sci-fi action back thing. I think that's a lot of our roots, to be honest. Sci-fi action. Oh, we're back on again. So
it stalls. It stops stalling. Be quiet. It'll just start itself back up, and then it just doesn't. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I'm working again. It's like,
why are you lying? Not bad. Right. We did talk about the films, Young. Did you have anything else you wanted to say? Oh, there you are. You're back. Anything else you want to add about the Gentleman that we talked about?
No, it's fine. I feel like I'm just tempting fate by trying to talk about it. Every time I try to talk about it, my computer freezes.
Not bad. We've got another question from Nahiri. We've got Heroes of Might and Magic. We didn't mention Heroes of Might and Magic Flash strategy games. Any of you guys play that? Luke, straight in there.
I played number 3, and I was going to mention it earlier. It's a fantastic game. It's a turn-based game. It's very if you want to play sort of the campaign, all of the campaigns are fun. They're very interactive. Like, it can change it up when you're playing the game. Things may change. You may have a team try and fight you. They may then join you, or in the next game they might just run away. You might just have, it can switch up every time. And when you do it in the hot seat, I call it, I think that's kind of the term that's used. But if you're playing with someone else sat next to you, so it is a real good game just to sit down and churn through the hours, because you've got 8 or 9 different types of categories. So you can be sort of heaven, you could be hell, you could be like the lizards, you could be all sorts of teams, and they've all got their own separate units. And it's the same as what Young alluded to earlier. It's the hex game, so you're playing on tiles, so you know what's going to happen as well. Number 3 is the only one I played, but God, I love that game. Threw a lot of hours in it, hundreds.
I do like that kind of resemble. You can be hell or like lizards, just like heaven versus lizards, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, and lizards are fucking dope. You got the mighty Gorgon stare, which I won't go into it if you guys haven't played it, because it just go over your head. But
I'm just thinking back to like Russian dolphins with lasers. This is coming back in my mind, to be honest, at the moment.
All right, so just before we leave that point, right? I went and looked at the IMDb of number 3, and okay, fair enough, it's number 3.
Okay, so I got the wrong one. That's fine. No, you're right.
But number 3, George. Well, I want to show you on screen, but I can't share it.
Jump to find it, and I'll put it on. Hold on.
Right, I'll start with the IMDb. Gemma Atkinson, Tim Curry, Jenny McCarthy, Jonathan Pryce, J.K. Simmons, George Takei.
Isn't that the guy that... Hold on.
Yes.
Let me look. Command and Conquer.
Exactly the guy you're thinking of.
If I try and find the people in terms of images who's been on this, there's been quite a lot of people. Oh, yeah, so that's... Wow, there's a lot of people on this, isn't there?
David Hasselhoff.
You've got... Who's that? I recognise that guy.
You'll recognise a lot of people. I mean, if the Hoff is in it, for God's sake. I mean...
if the Hoff is in it. I love that.
There's a lot of big names, and it's the same for the second one. Maybe not so much, because these guys sort of jumped on the bandwagon on the back end of it.
So you got Andrew Divoff, who was the guy of Lost that you mentioned. Gemma Atkinson from Hollyoaks. Wow.
Tim Curry.
J.K. Simmons, Jonathan Pryce.
J.K. Simmons has actually won an Oscar in fairness, so he wasn't lying when he said Oscar winning.
Look, you're back in. You got the big guns coming now. You got Randy Couture, UFC heavyweight champion. Jesus. You've got Gina Conviction Carano from American Gladiators. George, the guy of Star Trek and Heroes, George. Jesus, you've got. Well, where did they get the funds for this? Did they?
That's what I mean. From Red Alert 2, when it was such a great game.
Did Red Alert they make their careers? Is this where it started from?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to say that, but I won't put words in their mouth. But this was the slingshot.
This is the slingshot.
Coming back to my earlier point, Red Alert puts Hollywood fucking stars in games, and no one else does that.
Yeah, I mean, well, all jokes aside, we joked earlier, it did actually have an Oscar winner in it, which is beyond blowing my mind.
It's been a pleasure, gents. Bye. I've done my job.
Luke's trivia of the day. There you go. Oh my god. Oscar-winning strategy game cast. Heard it here first. Oh, right. We've gone through strategy. We've touched on a few more questions. We've discussed some part of The Gentleman, what was good, what we compared it to. Young, did you catch on what film we chose for next week?
I didn't. Sorry.
Well,
Sure, you could get on some reactions earlier, yeah.
Any ideas what film we've chosen?
Was it Busty Babes Take Dallas to All?
Oh,
Nailed
no.
it.
It was number 3, not 4.
No.
Oh goodness me, this is bad. No, we chose Starship Troopers, the original film. When did it come out? What's your guesses before I look? 1990. What? Starship Troopers first film.
1997.
I think you might have nailed it, Young.
Oh,
I'll say 98.
Was that right?
97, bang on.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but you got in earlier.
I mean, you
All
said
I thought
that.
to myself was, I remember thinking to myself, I wasn't that old because they were like up there with some of the first set of boobs I've ever seen. So I know I must have been young.
Awful. Right, so we got Starship Troopers. IMDb's we've got 7.2. Rotten Tomatoes only got 65%. I'll probably add another 20% onto that, to be honest. Yeah, Johnny Rico. We'll give it a week. Watch it. Cry because it's amazing, and next week we'll discuss through. Next week's on podcast main discussion, we'll put on another Instagram post deciding what we're going to talk about, and we'll send that through. Any of the questions you've got to ask about this one, put them through in the comments or send it to the email that's on screen. And any suggestions you think we should talk about that we missed, or any topics you might have missed before, again, send those questions in and we'll get through it. Apart from that, we've been Off the Top of My Head podcast. Thank you ever so much. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet for more content. I'll put some stuff out on the gram and the Twitch page as well for any more games that I'm playing. And apart from that, anything else we want to say before we head off, guys?
Bye.
No, I mean, I'm already left. I've already got my Oscar performance in, so I'm done.
God, awful. Oh, peace. Oh, no worries. Thanks, guys, and I'll catch you soon.
Cheers all.